Welcome back to Parents Perspective with Mike and Amy. I'm Mike Thomas, and with me is Amy Bishop. And in the last part of our Mythbuster series, we want to talk about a probably the most common drug that's out there that people use, and that's alcohol. What's wrong with a couple drinks on a birthday up at deer camp, or maybe at a football game, or who knows, maybe at a holiday party? Well, there's a couple things. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And one of the first things, going back to what we talked about a little bit last week, is the thought process behind that. If we want our children to make the best decisions, and if we want our children to start out doing the right thing, then we've got to model ourselves what's appropriate behavior. It doesn't seem like alcohol is a big deal. Maybe you grew up having a couple sips, maybe you had no problem. I know a lot of people that have grown up in cultures where it's the social norm to drink. Like they do it at weddings, they will do it at certain parties. They might dip it in bread if it's wine and eat it like a dessert. And so there's a lot of folks that don't think it's that big of a deal. But there's some things that are associated with that can be a problem. And then one of the biggest ones, again, is going to be addiction. Addiction is always a potential issue. There's a study done by the University of Michigan that says if a person starts having just 2 drinks a week when they're 14 years old, their chances for actually becoming addicted jumped up to 40%. But if they wait till they're 21 before they have any drink of any kind, it drops down to only 7%. So if alcoholism runs in your family, whether it's you personally or if it's an uncle or a grandparent or something like that, there's always that risk for that. And I know maybe not a lot of folks are going to deal with that, but do we want to be the one that gave our child that and they developed that issue? Probably not. So addiction risk is an issue. And beyond that, just the thinking of distortions that are going along with that as well too. It's okay. What's a little bit? What's one time? It's not that much. It's no big deal. This is the type of minimization that a lot of people use that can lead to bigger issues down the road when it comes to criminal or addictive behavior. Now, that's something that I work with a lot in the field, having worked with men and women, over 1,000 people I've worked with in the past 4 or 5 years dealing with a variety of issues. And one of the biggest issues with that is minimizing their behavior. So we're setting that standard if we do that. So our encouragement is not to do that, is to help them, guide them with the right thoughts, and not just find little things that they can do that aren't really that big of a deal, because they can be. Amy, am I blowing this out of proportion, or what do you think?
No, not at all. I really like what you said. I think when you enter into, your adolescent years, there's a lot of peer pressure. And whether we realize it or not, our kids are going to remember what we say and what we do. And we don't want to cloud or water down. We want to set very clear boundaries. We want that voice in their head to say, absolutely not. Never. This is never an option. Not, well, this one time, sure, you can have a sip, because they will remember that and say, you know what? Not so bad. I'm at a party. I'm with my friends. This one time's just one sip. So I really think that we need to, be very firm and very clear as parents, because that will be the voice that they remember. So, yeah, I totally agree. We need to set clear boundaries for the safety of our children. There are so many risks. A big one is the number one killer of teens, right? Is injuries and car crashes. I think there's a lot going on in adolescence as far as socially, physically, a lot of experiences, new drivers, they're not as experienced on the road. Their frontal cortex of their mind, that decision making, that impulse center, that part of their brain is not fully developed. And if we combine all of those things together, we've got a recipe for, heightened risk. And we always want to provide a healthy and safe environment for our children. There's enough of unpredictable things that happen in life. We want to prevent as much of those things happening as we can to, maximize a good, healthy outcome in every way we can. Saying to ourselves, I don't regret what I did. I was a firm parent because I wanted to do everything in my power to make sure that my child was safe and healthy. And I think the only way to do that is to set firm guidelines and be that absolute voice. No way, no. My mom would say no. My mom would ground me forever. It's never okay. Yes, we want to be approachable. Hey, if something happens ever, call me. you know, we'll deal with it when you get home. I would much rather you be alive and in trouble than not here. So, you know, because things, you might think it's just a drink, it's no big deal, and maybe nothing would happen. But we have statistics that tell us that injuries and deaths of our precious teens happen. So, yeah, Mike, I totally agree with you.
And for those of you that are out there that have had an issue with drinking or substance use and you feel hypocritical to share with your children all these things because you've done it yourself and maybe they've seen you, you know, be honest with them. I've had an issue and I've seen what it's done to me. I've seen what's done to my family. And there's a risk legitimately for you doing that. And I don't want you going through that. I love you and I care about you enough. I don't want to see you making that change. Yes, I've done it. And here's the damage that it's done to me. And I don't want that for you. So you can be honest with them. I guarantee you they're going to be much more appreciative of you being honest than playing the scared straight tactics of the past that don't work. We all know that reefer madness and videos like that have done nothing other than make it a joke, these topics of not using. So be real with them. If you can share with them experiences that have been damaging to you, you don't have to go into great detail, but just let them know the harm that it's done and you want better for them. Your children will appreciate that because at least you're being honest with them. And if you're looking for more information, continue to watch our platforms. We've got Facebook, Instagram, and all kinds of YouTube videos that are out there. And a lot of other great resources that we've linked in previous series. So pay attention to all that information. We've got a lot of new and exciting things coming up within the health department and with the Speak Coalition. So keep checking out those platforms. Thanks a lot, guys. We hope to see you soon.